Representative China Tyler, Senator Liz Miranda, Senator Sal DiDomenico, Representative James Arena DeRosa. We're also joined by great partners in philanthropy. Aaron Mackler of Project Bread, leaders from the Greater Boston Food Bank, Worcester County Food Bank of Western Mass, Merrimack Valley Food Bank, Marty Martinez of United Way of Massachusetts Bay, Tim Garvin of United Way of Central Massachusetts. I also want to recognize and thank members of my statewide anti-hunger task force. Back in July, when President Trump and Republicans in Congress passed the Big Beautiful Bill, that bill cut so much money from food assistance in this country. It's the largest cut to food assistance in this country's history. So we immediately got together and we organized a statewide task force to combat hunger in the state, knowing that those cuts were coming. But today I want to talk about another threat. President Trump has chosen to stop all SNAP benefits to Americans starting next week. You know, leadership is a choice. And sadly, President Trump has chosen to take away food from people all around this country. Let me tell you the impact in Massachusetts. That's going to mean that 1 million people in Massachusetts are not going to have their food benefits starting next week. 32% of them are children, 31% are people with disabilities, 26% are seniors. So over 1 million people in the Bay State next week will lose their food benefits, will not be able to go to the store and get the food that they need to feed themselves and their families. Again, the population most directly impacted: children, seniors, people with disabilities. Now, the president is making a choice, because at every other point in our history when there has been a government shutdown, whether it was back in 2018 or before that in 2013 or 1990, 1995, any time before when there has been a government shutdown, food benefits continue because they're essential. Americans need access to that food to be able to live. President Trump is making a choice because right now, sitting in Washington is a contingency fund of billions of dollars that the president can use to make these funds available next week to relieve the anxiety that so many people are experiencing around the country, including in Massachusetts. So I just want to be clear with the public. This is what is happening. This is the choice that Donald Trump has made. It's to take food away from people, to end SNAP benefits starting next week. It doesn't need to happen. I asked the president and the administration to release those contingency funds for the duration of this shutdown so that people can be fed. This is 42 million Americans. I talked about 1 million here in Massachusetts who will lose benefits next week. 42 million Americans around this country. It's also the case that the food that is produced and sold using these SNAP benefits are used in over 5,500 stores and farms here in Massachusetts alone. And that's stores and farms around this country. Why does that matter? It's bad enough that you're taking food away from people and families, but you're also taking revenue away from our grocery stores and our farmers, okay? That's a big deal for the American economy, because without that revenue, our stores, whether it's a Nubian market or a Big Y or anywhere else in this great state, they're going to be losing revenue. And what are they going to have to decide? They're going to have to cut back on worker hours. They're going to have to lay people off. So the ripple effects, the consequences of President Trump's cruel and callous and calculated decision, I guess, to cut off these benefits, not only impacts those who need the food, but also our broader economy. This is something that affects every state And I know governors right now are very concerned about what's happening because no state can backfill these benefits. These benefits in Massachusetts alone, it's about $240 million a month that comes in through SNAP benefits. No state can make up the difference. We can't replace SNAP benefits. But here's what we can do, okay? Here's what we can do, and we're going to do. We're going to work to get resources to food banks who will need more support than ever. Before this cruel and unnecessary decision by President Trump, these food banks needed more support. Why? Because we've got a bunch of federal workers, 42,000, 50,000 workers in Massachusetts who are not getting paid right now, who need access to the food bank and that food. So this problem was bad enough as it is. Oh, and by the way, we have people in Massachusetts and around this country right now who are struggling with healthcare costs, with energy costs, with housing costs. You saw the numbers on car payments. Americans are not making car payments. So people are already struggling. And Donald Trump is compounding that. And the pressures on our food bank and the need for food is greater than ever. So here's what I encourage you to do. Today, I'm pleased to announce that the United Way is going to create a new resource called the United Response Fund. United Way is joining together all 13 chapters. You'll hear more about it. United Response Fund. I encourage people in Massachusetts who can afford to go and contribute to the United Response Fund to help feed our families, our seniors, our kids, our neighbors with disabilities. I also want to encourage people to get in touch with their local food banks, their local food pantries. Go to them, ask them what they need and what you can contribute. Those who have the means, this is the time to step up. And the good news in Massachusetts, I know we are a state full of people with compassion and care. America is a country full of people with compassion and care. And in this moment of real fear and anxiety, I know the generous and resilient spirit of the people of Massachusetts. You know, I think about single moms, for example. So many heads of household, single moms in Massachusetts and around America, who next week won't know how to feed their kids. I was raised by a single mom, and I do not want to see single moms or anyone else in this state, in this country, suffer needlessly. And the fact of the matter is they don't need to. Because today, as we sit here and Donald Trump builds that ballroom, he has an opportunity to release billions of funds that will provide these benefits and keep people fed during this shutdown. I ask the President of the United States to do just that. I'd now like to turn to our treasurer, Deb Goldberg.
I don't know who can follow that because I feel that it was all said. And so I thank you for your leadership. Every day I thank you for your leadership, but particularly at a moment like now. I think it is absolutely stunning, and we have, I began organizing the other treasurers from across the country this week when we all saw what was about to happen. As the governor said, with all the shutdowns that we've experienced before, no one has had the audacity to attack food. What is food? Food is medicine. Food is fuel. Food is what makes our bodies tick. And without it, you are basically destroying people. The governor stated the statistics. I won't repeat them, but they are absolutely accurate. And the economic impact on our state and our country is huge, but more importantly, the ripple effect will take years to reverse. and can be avoided. The economics are clear. You know, the treasurers usually talk about economics. However, the treasurer of Oregon is a physician. So when we met yesterday with the national press, we also talked about the health care consequences. And the Greater Boston Food Bank and Boston Medical Center have dealt with issues like failure to thrive children. Because what happens when there's no food? What can a mother do? Buy some apple juice and water it down because the babies are crying so much? What this does to our future and our future economy is what I am thinking about at this time. I am thrilled that we're putting together the program. Marty, we've done this before. I am sending you a gift for your fund, and I think everybody, whether it's $1, whether it's $5, we should all jump in because we must feed the citizens and the people of Massachusetts. And by the way, it's not just in the cities. Go stand in a food pantry line, as they say, in the W suburbs, because people are out of work. People aren't able to pay their mortgages. As you heard, they can't pay their car payments. This is the ripple effect of the kind of things that are going on in this country that are harming our economy. It is absolutely clear that the Trump administration has Massachusetts under attack. Our entire economic ecosystem trying to deprive the lifeblood of our teaching hospitals, our universities, our research labs, our biotech, our high-tech, who are the very people who step in and help during these kind of emergencies. We are resilient here in Massachusetts. We will figure it out. Look at the governor and look at all the things she's doing, whether it is our emergency task force, of which I'm a member, or our DRIVE initiative to rebuild our economy, which I'm a member. Yes, she has me on speed dial. But it's okay, because we're in this together, and with the lieutenant governor and the legislature too. We will deal with this, but the idea is to stop it now in its tracks. So thank you, Governor, for your leadership. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. United Way, you always step up, and I appreciate that so much. And Marty, you will hear from me.
Terrific. Thanks.
Oh, and I'd like to introduce Erin McAleer, President and CEO of Project Bread, which my family was very involved in, as you know.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Governor Healey and Treasurer Goldberg, for sounding the alarm today. I'm Erin McAleer, President and CEO of Project Bread. We connect people to food in their communities, and we bring the lessons learned from that work and use it to inform our advocacy to create systems change so that people do not go hungry. The harm that will be caused if the Trump administration does not take immediate action jeopardizes the health and well-being of 1 million people right here in Massachusetts. 1 million people. That is 1 in 7 Massachusetts residents. These are not faceless numbers. These are working families who are working and just not making enough to get by. These are our friends. These are our neighbors, our coworkers. They are senior citizens. They are children. 337,000 of them are children. And the thing that's really tough about this situation is it's actually really easy to solve, right? This is just a political decision that's being made to purposefully harm those that are already struggling to make ends meet. They are going to lose SNAP, a critical lifeline to food. We need to listen to their stories. We need to take action. Choosing not to continue SNAP when one simple decision could avoid this man-made crisis is an act of cruelty that puts politics above people. The folks on SNAP, that million people, will get these benefits at some point because they are entitled to them. What the decision is being made is for them to have to wait on them until the Trump administration releases these funds. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, that you're creating a nightmare for that family. I was raised by a single mom like the governor. I know what the stress is in a household where you can't put food on the table. My body is shaking thinking about what families are going to be going through on November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th when they cannot put food on their table. And the only reason why is that we decided to play politics with people's basic human right, which is food and human need. This crisis is preventable, and it must be prevented. Project Bread is here to help those people navigate this uncertainty. We're continuing to be here for all people through Project Bread's Food Source Hotline. If you need help putting food on the table, call us at 1-800-645-8333 or go to projectbread.org. And our ask is to the Trump administration use that SNAP contingency fund to keep food on everyone's table. And if you're as angry as I am, please join us. Join Project Bread's action team, raise your voice, demand that our leaders act with compassion and with courage, because no one in Massachusetts or anywhere in the United States of America should go hungry when we have the power to stop it. I'm now pleased to introduce you to Soraya, who's going to share her own story.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Soraya, and I am a grandparent raising grandchildren. I am here today to express my deep concern about the possibility of SNAP benefits being cut or suspended for the month of November. I rely on these benefits to help feed my family, especially my grandchildren who depend on me for their daily lives and meals. Losing SNAP even for a single month would be devastating. The cost of the groceries continues to rise, and without that support, I honestly don't know how I'm going to make it or be able to put enough food on my table. My grandchildren need proper nutrition to stay healthy and focused in school. And I do everything I can to make sure they have that ability or stability. I don't have my glasses, sorry. This program is not just a line in a budget, it's a lifeline for the families like mine. It makes us survive and maintain dignity through difficult times. Cutting these benefits would cause real harm to children, seniors, people with disabilities, and working families across our communities. I urge you from the bottom of my heart to protect SNAP funding and assure there are no interruptions in November or beyond. Please stand with families who depend on this vital support to keep food on the tables. Thank you. I truly hope you will consider the impact this decision has been on families like mine. 16, 14, and 13. Sorry for the stuttering. I didn't have my glasses.
So I just want to, before I start, say thank you, Soraya, for sharing your words and being the voice for millions of folks and thousands of families directly impacted. We need to raise that voice, so thank you so much for doing that. Very briefly, I'm Marty Martinez, the President and CEO of the United Way of Mass Bay, and proud to stand here in partnership with the Governor, the Lieutenant Governor, the Treasurer, and the Administration to do all that we can to mitigate the impact that the federal government is creating here locally in our communities with families and the decisions that are being made that are greatly impacting all of us. We stand here today to do exactly what the Governor mentioned, which is to push out a fund to push out the United Response Fund, which is an opportunity for folks to not only get involved, but to help us invest in the resources necessary. The United Response Fund, you can find information on the fund on our website at unitedwaymassbay.org/united-response. There's information about the fund for folks to get involved, donate locally, donate at the statewide level, to really lean into this moment. This is what the United Ways do. Many of you know the United Way as an organization and what we do. There are 13 of us across the Commonwealth. We cover every city and town, and food insecurity is an issue in every city and town. We cannot lose sight of that. And so people can also get involved with their local United Way to support the work that's happening. But our goal will be to raise money, to be very clear. Our goal is to raise money and invest it back up for organizations that are not only making sure food's available, but that it actually is accessible in communities, that it can be delivered to where it needs to be, that it ends up in people's homes the way it needs to end up. And so that's what we will do with this fund, to mobilize it. Organizations will be able to apply for resources. And the way we work at the United Way is we work quickly. We will mobilize, we will organize, and we will bring money in and put money out rapidly, because that's what we need to do to address the issues that we face today. And so that's critically important to this work. And so before I pass it back to the governor, I will say to all, in this moment, it's important to lean in. And that's the message that I want to give from the United Way's perspective, whether you're sitting in philanthropy, in the private sector, or you as an everyday resident thinking about the impact to your neighbors. This is the moment to lean in. There have been many moments to lean in, and this is another one, and I know that's exactly what we're built for. So thank you to the governor for your leadership in this moment. Thank you to the administration for the work we do, and we will continue to mobilize on behalf of our residents, because that's more important now than ever. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. We're happy to take any questions on topic.
Governor, a question for either you or Marty Martinez, and obviously you just referred to the quick turnaround. But this is a very tight timeline, and I'm curious how quickly the state and/or United Way can backfill the money that people were expecting on November 9th.
Let me be clear. Neither the state nor any organization here is going to be able to backfill SNAP benefits. I talked to governors all around the country. No states can backfill what is supposed to come from the federal government to families across America. And this is very challenging, very, very challenging. I know we're committed to moving as quickly as we can with whatever funds we have available. But really what needs to happen is the president needs to make a different choice. Release the billions of funds that are available for food right now, and let those benefits continue to flow, as has been the case during every shutdown in history. That is what must happen.
Governor, you have a multi-billion-dollar rainy day fund. Why not tap that for something like this?
Again, I said, Chris, the money, the state doesn't have the money to do what needs doing. $240 million a month is what the state receives, its residents receive from the federal government for these benefits. So you can't begin to make this up. And also, let's not forget, okay, the reality here, just to lay it out for everybody, what's happened in the last few months. President Trump has cut $3.7 billion from Massachusetts. President Trump has kicked a potential of 350,000 base staters off of Medicaid. President Trump has kicked another 50,000 Massachusetts residents off of health care in the form of Obamacare. And that's just some of what is happening. In addition to President Trump's decision to continue with tariffs that are only raising the cost of everything from food to housing. And it's in this context that all of us as governors and states have to operate. It's very challenging. It's very challenging, which is why I always want to be straight with the public about what's really happening and the advocacy that we need collectively as Americans to call out the president and Republicans in Congress to do what's right, and especially to make sure that important benefits flow to people for food, that we take care of our military, that we take care of our veterans. Think about all the federal workers. I'm sure that many of you know federal workers in Massachusetts, some of whom are going to work without pay, others of whom are trying to figure out, because they're out of work and have no pay, because they've actually been let go, how they're going to cover a tuition payment, a car payment, a mortgage payment, or rent. That's the reality of America right now. I do appreciate the resilience of Massachusetts and the compassion and care of our people. But more than anything, we need advocacy in D.C. to get President Trump to make a different choice.
Still on topic here, you know, if this deadline does come and these cuts do happen, is there anything, any sort of backup plan you may come up with? Because in the end, people who are suffering will not think, oh, it's the governor's fault or the president's fault. They're going to say the government's fault. What can you do if Donald Trump is not going to step up and step in? What can you do?
Let me be clear. This is President Trump's fault. This is President Trump's doing. What we're going to continue to do is be in conversation with our food banks, with our pantries. The reason I established that anti-hunger workforce was to ensure that we were all talking with, supporting one another as best we can. Hopefully, with more contributions, more assistance from the public, we can, see what we can do in the immediate. And certainly, I'm going to do everything I can as governor. But I also know as governor that no governor and no state in the country can make up for what is threatened right now to be cut off in a week. And that's why I joined. This is not a blue state, red state issue. This is happening everywhere across the country. And that's why everybody needs to come together. And President Trump needs to make a different choice here.
Governor, just clarifying, you said $240 million is what residents receive here in SNAP benefits?
Each month. So you can see how that number grows. There's no capacity for the state, budget-wise, to be able to backfill.
Marty, do you have a fundraising goal in this effort right now?
As much as we can, I'm sorry. As much as we can raise, right? The need is great, and the need was great before this and will continue to be great. So we will continue to raise and get money out as much as we possibly can.
Can you just detail a little more where this money would be going? I think you said organizations that help people access food, so it's not going directly to residents.
Some of it may, right? So we United Way's work in emergency assistance. So we do support organizations that put out emergency financial assistance to families. So we do that each and every day, and we have done that all of our United Ways for many years. So we will do that with this fund as well. But again, it's about how much resources we're able to raise and mobilize, and that will be part of some of the strategy to get the money out.
Yeah. And remember, look, our food pantries, our food banks are the best. They know where to go. They know where the need is. They know how to best deliver the food. And that is why I encourage those who have the means and can afford it to contact your local food pantry or food bank and see what they need right now and how you can help. So we're going to continue to rely on them. And I also want to be clear that hunger is something that exists in 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts, in cities and rural communities, in communities like Arlington, where I live. So many people in need, people who are working, people who are raising families, people who are trying to contribute to our economy. A lot of people you wouldn't even imagine. You wouldn't even imagine the profile of a lot of folks who use food banks and food pantries. And, through life, there are ups and downs, and people will come upon hard times, job loss, wage loss due to an illness, and they need access to this food. And that's why SNAP and other benefits are so, so important. And I thank everybody for hopefully hearing this, understanding this, and thinking about what we each can do.
Will you donate, Governor, personally or to your campaign account?
What's that?
Will you donate to the United Way Fund personally or to
Yes.
your campaign account?
Yes, absolutely.
Governor, I heard what you said in terms of the state not having the ability to backfill $240 million. But can the state use any of the rainy day funds, at least temporarily, to cover these?
Look, as I said, the rainy day fund, what is it at? It's about $8 billion right now. This year alone for our budget cycle, and next year, Donald Trump has cut $3.7 billion out of our budget, right? So, you know, there's just no way for the state to be able to backfill, especially when we're having to think about how we're going to cover people's heating costs, access to health care, which is being taken away, in addition to the food issues that I've laid out, compounded by the number of federal workers who've been fired or furloughed in Massachusetts alone. So, you know, this is the scope of the problem, and what President Trump, enabled by Republicans in Congress, allowed to happen with a big, beautiful bill. And tax cuts for billionaires that see now are getting paid for this way. This is how the tax cuts for the very richest among us are getting paid. They're getting paid for by taking away billions of dollars each month from SNAP recipients, taking away health care coverage from millions of Americans. Evidently, this was the cruel and callous plan. Again, it's something that can be reversed through advocacy and a decision by the president to reverse course, and also by actions in Congress. And I just remind people, the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. It's on them to step up and act for the good of this great country. Nice to see you, too. Thanks for making the trip up, okay? How you doing? Great to be in the district.